Hi and welcome to Blossom with Busola again today.
In my last video, Mr. Kayode Akinropo took over the channel for a bit and turned me, the interviewer, into the interviewee. I hope you enjoyed that.
In today's video, I'll be sharing the other part of that chat with you, and that one was focused on my writing. I hope you enjoy it, and who knows, there might be one or two things to learn about being an author.
As you would know, Mr. Akinropo is the author of the book Scars to Heal. If you haven't read that book, you need to grab a copy and read. It's available on Amazon. And so he's anchored to this discussion from the point of experience.
Have fun.
Now, today, we want to zero in on your writing journey.
Okay.
And you have written lovely books. I've read the ones you have written.
Thank you.
Particular one I will tell you later, because I didn't go into that reading that type of a book. When I read it, I said, wow, this is great. So, as of today, how many books have you written? We want to just zero in on the books writing.
Okay.
How many books have you written?
Non-academic books. I'm sure talking about
Non-academic.
non-academic.
Yeah, you want to look out.
There are three expected bits of departure.
Great.
Preparing for the death of loved ones. Then stepping into the sunlight. Working with a friend through grief.
Great.
There's Broken Rhythm, the fiction.
I read that one too.
Yeah,
I've read it.
There are others coming. Like I've talked about the one my husband and I are working on. Hopefully it's out sometime soon.
That'd be great.
That's based on our love letters. When we're cutting, dating.
We all be waiting to read the love letters. At what point did you decide to become an author?
This will date back to when I was in the uni.
Oh,
Yes. Yes,
long
uni
time
days.
ago.
Like over 35 years ago,
Oh.
where I thought I would write.
Hmm.
It may have been earlier than that, but I remember then. And what helps me to remember more specifically was
Okay.
a book that my husband gave me then. It's about Christian publishing, Christian writing and publishing. Because then we were cutting.
One of the books, Expected Date of Departure.
Yeah.
I read it.
Preparing for the death of loved ones.
Yeah, I read it and I was asking, this is great. And my wife, I gave it to her. She read and said, oh, we never thought about these things. Preparing for the death of loved ones. And from your background, talking about death is a kind of taboo. Where everybody went come to death. No, it's not my portion. How did you come about writing about that?
If I was to state a reason for writing the book, I would say this book is for me. Because for years I had this fear of losing loved ones. Not fear of dying. I knew when I die, I'll go to heaven, and heaven is one of my. It's a dream. It's a place I'd love to go and be with Jesus when the time comes. But losing a loved one was always a scare for me.
Wow.
Recently, I lost my father, and before then, years ago, when I would think of losing any of my parents, I would just be. Trepidation would be all over me. My husband, anyone at all, anyone close. And I used to wonder, how do people ever cope with losing loved ones? And then I decided to start reading about it. Read books that I could lay my hands on. Yes, research. About it. How does a woman ever cope with losing a husband? How does that person live, sleep and wake up the following day and continue with life? But it was a palpable fear for me. The first one I read, I walked into a Christian bookshop and I saw a book, Early Widow. By then I think I was about 25 or 26 years old. Yes. And I picked it to buy, and lady selling at the bookshop said it was in Nigeria, and like you said, it's like a taboo. Like, Auntie, why do you want to buy a book of this title, Early Widow? Do you want to give it to a widow as a present? I said, no, I want to read it. She said,
Wow.
why do you want to read it? It's not the kind of thing you should read. It's not meant for you. I said, so who is it meant for? You kept it here. Is it not so that people can buy? I want to buy and read. And the book blessed me a lot. I could see it was
That's
a
great.
diary of the person's loss from the moment she heard about the death of the husband, and for a year she kept this journal. And for me, I found that very helpful, and so I kept reading. I wouldn't say that I settled it or lost that fear until I started writing the book, The Expected Date of Departure, preparing for the death of loved ones. For me, it was an acceptance of the fact that my loved ones will die. They won't be here with me forever. Writing the book helped me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And it has helped me as a reader too.
How? Please, how?
Yeah, thank you. In one of the chapters on this expected date of departure, you talk about, you are a man, you are responsible for paying all the bill, but your wife doesn't know how you pay. Maybe the company you even use. I was laughing. And my wife, it's like you are talking to my wife. Maybe the content insurance, the home insurance, the whatever. Mine is just to deal with those ones.
Okay.
She will never know. And when you say something, hey, okay, this is great. Madam, do you know this? Do you know this? I said no. So you help us a lot. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Now, stepping into the sunlight.
Yeah.
Preparing for this, then stepping into the sunlight, they are related sort of.
Yes.
When you first, you wrote expected date of departure first,
Yes.
then stepping into the sunlight.
Yeah.
That, at the end of the day, you just need to continue with your life.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking when you were writing this sequence?
Okay. So let me first say, expected date of departure, which we would shorten as EDD.
Okay.
So we say there are two EDDs.
Okay.
Because the expected date of delivery. When the baby is coming into the world, we say when
That's
is
interesting.
Yeah, we say when is the EDD.
Mm.
But there is a second EDD, and that was the point of the title, expected date of departure. So it's expected when a child is to be born. We expect it. We prepare for it. We buy, baby things and prepare a room. Then if somebody, then expected date of departure, if we expect it, if we prepare for it, we know this person, I don't have this person forever, for life here. So I prepare. I prepare by enjoying my time with that person, celebrating the person.
When she lives.
Yes, when the person is alive, not just waiting for when the person is dead to start missing the person, but to enjoy the things that I would miss the person for when they are gone, or the person would miss me for when I'm gone.
Wow, great.
And then to answer your question on the stepping into the sunlight, walking with a friend through grief, and it's purposely walking with a friend. So it might be me.
You don't do it alone.
Yes. So the step helping that person to step into the sunlight, because when somebody loses a person in death, there is a darkness that comes with it. There's sadness. Sadness is darkness. Then how do I walk with that person? How do I help that person to come back into, to start seeing light again, to start living again? How am I able to support my friend?
And that's different from one person to another.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
read it there.
Of
It's very interesting.
Yes. And a lot of people don't even know what to say to people and how to help friends who are mourning. We genuinely want to help, but we don't know what to do. And some of those things are things that are summarized into stepping into the sunlight. The person who is mourning doesn't know how to receive help or how to ask for help, how to position, how to live, how to continue living. So my purpose in writing, stepping into the sunlight, is to say there is life again, you can live again, and you can eat again,
Which
you
is
can
very
laugh
interesting.
again,
You can marry
love
again,
again.
you can give birth again.
Yes,
You can enjoy your
you can
life
enjoy
again.
life
Thank you
again,
very
even
much
though
for
that
that.
person is gone.
Thank you very much. And that one will now take us to the fiction.
Okay, broken living.
Broken Rhythm.
Yeah.
How do you move from this to fiction?
First, the purpose for the fiction on my mind was not everybody loves reading self-help book. So I thought, and I also love reading. I love reading fiction too. So I thought I can put this idea into
Wow.
the fiction.
That's
That was
great.
the background for
Thank you very
book
much
and reading.
for letting us know. These 3 books, which one is your favorite? And why? Do you have a favorite? And if yes, why?
I'm not sure I have a favorite.
Okay.
However, I do have a soft spot for the first one, Expected Date of Departure,
Why?
because it helped me to break loose from my fears. And from breaking loose from my fears, I've also been able to help others break loose from their fears. But stepping into the sunlight is also a product of my experience, because I help people one-on-one or in groups who are mourning. So it's a product of what I do, my daily experience. And Broken Rhythm, I'm also a romantic. I think I forgot to mention that.
That's great.
So when you see the love story woven into Broken
Very
Rhythm,
interesting.
yes,
Broken Rhythm.
yes, it's a product of my
Wow.
experience and how I love life
That's
to be.
great.
So
That's
then weaving that romance and grief and everything together to say this is a life. So I don't know if I've been able to help you decide which is my favorite.
Well, you have helped us a lot. Well, I will say I enjoy a lot of the books. I've read the 3 and I enjoyed them. When we started this today's discussion,
Yeah.
you told me a lot about you. You are so many things, so many people. How did you get time to write books? The writing is not easy. It's not an easy task.
Of course, you know you're a
I
doctor.
know. And that's what we want to know. Dr. Busola, how come, with all those things you have told us, how do you find time to write the books?
Like I told you, some have been cooling off,
Okay.
waiting for completion, because I've had to focus on content development for YouTube, one-on-one relationships, guiding, mentoring, right? But yeah, so how do I find time?
Time. You travel a lot.
In different seasons, I wrote and write at different times. So I would say for the Expected Date of Departure, most of the writing would be very early hours of the day, like
Wow.
4 a.m. I would write from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. before it's time to settle into other matters of the day, because then I had calls coming in and other things. So I would have put in about 4 hours of writing. And then at other times during
Every
the day,
day, or maybe some days in the week, or every
for
day?
that period until I produced the first draft,
Okay.
I did that every day.
Wow.
And that was for 2 weeks straight. 2 weeks straight. About 3
Every
to
day.
8 a.m. or 4 to 8 a.m.
Wow.
I did that every day. And then in the course of the day, thank God for the phone where you can jot things down in your notes. If anything came to my mind, I would write
Okay.
in the notes. And then first draft was out. I was able to share with people for feedback. EDD and stepping into the sunlight were like boom, 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 quickly. I just focused time on them, like taking time off to get that done
Yeah.
while still doing other things in the course of the day. Broken Rhythm took a bit of a longer time,
Okay.
about a year. It was about a year in the writing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, before you continue, well, which one is easier to write? Fiction or non-fiction? Longer time, you said. I mean, is it because it's difficult or?
No, it was just
Okay.
because of the season of life. Then how busy I was with other things.
Okay.
For me, if by the grace of God, when I want to write, when I sit down to write, I write. The ideas flow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, writer's block happening to you at all?
So there was a time I was working on a book.
Okay.
I was just tired. What I did was I stopped writing.
Okay.
I said, I've been writing. I think I need to read. I took some time off and went reading. I was enjoying myself, reading and enjoying what I loved.
Any type of book, or are you reading any type of book, or just something related to what you want to write about?
Not strictly related. I wasn't reading to get ideas of what to write, but I was just reading to be in the, let me say, in the company of writers. Yes, and to be in the company of writers that I admire or topics that are of interest to me. So that way I liberated myself from having to write. I wasn't thinking of my writing. I was just enjoying the things I was reading. I think a lot. The things I want to write, they're always in my mind.
Okay.
I'm always processing them. So when I sit down, it's like they just pour out.
So just
now,
continue to write and
yes,
write and write.
yes. Like the books I tell you are in waiting. The ideas are always on my mind. But I haven't had time to sit at my desk to write. When I sit to write, I know the flow because it's like when you're always mulling over something, you're always thinking on it. So it's there, it's waiting. Yeah, and I know that one day it's going to be like, leave everything, sit down now and write. And when it's going to.
That's great. Thank you very much. Now, plots and characters, which one do you consider, or you don't consider any of those ones? When you want to write a book, are you thinking, oh, my characters will come before plot, or plot before the character?
Well, it is plot.
First.
Yes.
Why is that?
Plot, like I said, the ideas are always there in my mind. This is what I want to write about. So the plots are building up in my mind.
Okay.
And then I weave them around some characters. So as as we speak, the plots for the next fiction, it's always in my mind. It's developing in my mind, but I'm not. I may not be looking that much at the character. But when I start to, maybe much later, or when I start to write, then the character coming. How is it for you?
Well, characters before
interesting.
Yeah, that's a different thing. Because when I look at, from what I've experienced in life, when I look at some characters, I just do some plot plan them.
All right.
Yeah.
So I get it now. So if you look at Broken Rhythm, for example, it was already settled that I was going to talk about life. Love life, a romantic relationship. I don't want to give out everything about the book, and it's going to lead into the certain activities and life situations that would happen. Then I now bring characters to portray these things that I have in my mind. And that is how it is with the next one. I already know what message I want to pass. So those messages, based on those messages, the plots are developed. And then, like I said, when I write, I send it out first to friends to give me a review before sending it to the editor. I've had feedback from editors that threw me off balance. That's made me sit and drop that draft for 3 months. I said, I'm not even going to look at this draft. You mean this thing? Is this how much work I have to do to get this onto the next page?
So it happened to you too?
Of course.
Wow. That's interesting.
I could use the experience of being an editor. I am an editor. So that's
good
another
one for that matter. For me,
it's a passion, and it's always been a part of me too for those many years, right? From when I was in uni again, and much later. So I did some training in editorial work, and then I would say I just have the eye to pick things that other people's eyes have.
I can testify to that. I can testify to that.
Yeah, so all of those skills combined. I find them very helpful for myself and then in helping others. So like I said, my work will still go to editing. Just like that Yoruba proverb translated, you know, when you have the knife with the wooden base, so no matter how sharp a knife is, it cannot sharpen its own handle. Yeah, so
you got people that will look at it and
also
query you.
they go out to the editors, right? Fine, and I
great.
get my. So I know how you feel when you get your work back from the
yeah. Then for people aspiring writers, any advice for them? What kind of advice you want to give? Oh, so many people will love to write. They are afraid.
Just write. Write the things on your mind. Then you go back and read over. Write 50,000 words and then do self-editing. I advise self-editing first. When you go back to read dispassionately. Take yourself out of the situation and don't do like you're the one who wrote it, but just be objective and read. If I were the reader of this, what would I feel about what has been written here?
Wow.
Have I repeated anything? How is the flow? Do I find it interesting? Is it boring? So just write and then you step back and read. Begin to read. Write a bit every day. Make sure you write. Make a habit.
Every day.
Every day. Make sure you make a habit of writing. Okay, at least 15 minutes. I must write something. Don't be afraid to send it out to others to read. And these days, sometimes when there are gadgets everywhere, we always have our phone on us. Wherever you are, and you think, oh, you have some ideas.
Just put it down.
Put those ideas down.
Wow.
Put those ideas down. You can even speak them into your phone.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
You should try it.
Oh, I will.
And when you get back, you either do the automatic transcription or it gives you an idea of what you want to write and you can take it on from there.
Thank you for that. An aspiring writer, they may want to ask you. For example, we say if you want to become a good writer, you must have turned over a library. I mean, you must have been a bookworm. Is it like that always? Can anybody write? Or you've told me you read a lot, and that has shown here.
I think I took that for granted. If you want to write,
Okay.
you need to be a reader.
Okay.
You need
Great.
to read. So it's very important to read.
To read,
When you
to
read,
write.
yes, when you are a reader, it's easier for you to write. You'll be writing from a rich background, a rich source. Like all of those things
agree.
you read, there's a way they develop us, and then we are writing from an abundance. But if you are not a reader, I think you'll be searching for words when you
Thank
sit
you
down
very
to
much
write.
for that. Thank you very much. Now, for me, you have said you have to be a reader, and I love your books. There are some I've read 20 years ago and I never forget. Yeah. You have favorites among those writers. But maybe 20, 30 years ago, you read it and you still admire, so that you can wake up and say tomorrow I still want to read that book. Do you have a book like that?
I love romance books. And before I gave my life to Christ, I read the romance books that teenagers read.
What pushed you?
It could be maybe association with colleagues, or the fact that I love relationships. When I gave my life to Christ, I felt those are not the types I should be reading. Those books are not the types I should be reading because they were never devoid of sex, which wasn't a part of what a Christian girl should be reading about to avoid unnecessary arousal. I just knew it from within me. Nobody saw it or said anything to me. So I went to a Christian bookshop. Then I saw a book by Janet Oak, and it says Christian romance. Love comes softly. I won't forget it.
Wow.
Love comes softly.
Wow.
I bought it and I read, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was wholesome romance. And so I still, about 3 years ago, you won't imagine that I reread it.
Oh,
about
great.
3 years ago. So that was by Janet Oak.
Great.
And there are many other books by her that I read then, and other Christian romance author that I like was Francine Rivers. I read a lot of Francine Rivers. And in more recent years, but will still be like 15 years ago, Karen Kingsbury. So because all of them are right.
Thank you very much. And if I may ask you, what's the the most difficult part of writing? Beginning, the middle, the end.
Talk of fiction
Okay.
is really coming to say, okay, let me stop here.
How to end it?
How to, not really how to, but deciding it needs to end here, because it's imagination.
Yeah.
So and you can keep going on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So deciding to end, and then if I may also add, ensuring that as I'm writing, the message I want to pass across is coming out clearly without me preaching.
Okay.
And then if I come to the non-fiction, I would say that time.
Okay, time.
Time to write is what
I agree.
is what I would say is my challenge. When I have the time to write, like I said, it flows.
People will say, "Oh, why should I write? How much will I get at the end of the day?" Because the royalty. They say, "Oh, why am I wasting my time after all the time?" How much do I get? What advice do you have for them? Because it happens to me too. Why should you spend such long years time? At the end of the day, you get little.
Such thoughts come to my mind at times when I sit to write, because like you said, writing takes time.
Seriously.
So I sit to write and I'm like, how many have you sold? How much have you made?
Yeah.
You're not making a whole lot of money
From it.
you've not made much money from it, and you're sitting to write again. You know my background. You know the thing that pushes me, that moves me, is my relationship with God.
Hallelujah.
So I tell myself, Paul in the Bible wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. I'm not a theologian, but that is said, and if we check, that is
it's true.
And when he was writing, he didn't know he was writing 2/3 of the New Testament. He was writing letters to his friend to encourage them. And the writing must have taken him hours and hours of arduous writing or dictating to the people.
Not expecting any.
No, he was just writing. And he didn't know it would be read beyond
Wow.
the Ephesians or the Colossians or the Corinthians. But today, if they were to pay royalty to Paul's family, can you imagine how much his family will be earning? From year to year, the Bible remains the best, the all-time bestseller.
Correct.
So for me,
I agree.
so that's what moves me. That's what keeps me writing. That God has given me a message, and I want to share that message. And what you have written is permanent. So I don't know how many people in this generation will read. People in other generations will read, and I don't know how many generations on people will still be being blessed by my books, and that keeps me writing. And that's okay. And that also applies to what I do, and what my husband and I do with our friends on the Blossom with Busola channel. That's this channel. It's not dependent on how many views I have today or how much. I spend a lot of time developing the content.
Good.
We spend a lot of time on content development, but we know that this is there and will be there for years and years and years, and it will be blessing people. So there are people I listen to, I watch on YouTube. They are no longer alive. They've been dead many years, but some foundation or some of their children or grandchildren are now putting their messages online.
Wonderful.
And they are still blessing me. So that is what helps me to keep writing and to keep this channel.
And to talk from that is that when you write, it's not about money first.
No.
It's about what you want to leave
Exactly.
for the coming generations.
Exactly.
Exactly. Viewers, wherever you are, thank you for watching the program today. You have heard a lot from our horse's mouth, Dr. Busola Eshe. Thank you for talking to us today. And next week, please be there. She will take over. She will be there, and we'll continue to enjoy our program. Tell others about the program, as I usually do too. And I say, God bless you, Dr. Busola. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keropo, for doing this, making me talk more.
You're welcome.
God bless you too, sir.
Amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you too.